I just got off the phone with my friend McKenna, and I told her that I was recording my first solo episode, and she's like, you should open it up talking to yourself. Like, hey, Gabby. Hey, thanks for being my guest today. No, thank you for having me. Anyways, here we are, you guys. This is long-winded. I've been teasing it for years at this point. Sorry, I don't have a lot else going on. Not totally the truth. But I've just been like really excited. I actually recorded this once before, but I'm just going to like do it again for safety. I feel like it's good practice. And just to like kind of get used to everything, because I do feel like it takes a touch of narcissism, this whole industry, to believe that people just want to hear you talk for no reason. But I can't lie, I am excited. So thank you guys, honestly, for giving me the opportunity, the platform. Dear Media took a chance on me. Thank God. We've been shopping it for like literally a year. Whatever, things take a really long time, I guess, because it's like meeting after meeting. They're like, what's your conceit? I'm like, I don't fucking know. I just want to like run my mouth. I need you guys, like, I don't do well on the socials. You know, I'm not like a content creator despite my genuine hardest efforts. I just need like a little more space. Speaking of, there's been a drama, which is the airplane debacle. I could regret bringing this up again. Also, I prop designed. For those of you watching, I put these nice fresh flowers here for you, Trader Joe's. Robbie and I were on a flight. I don't know where to start. Okay, we were on a flight coming from JFK. And we wanted to sit together, which apparently there's like this deep, dark corner of the internet that vehemently believes that you should not ask anybody else, another passenger, to switch spots. I had no idea this was existed. I innocently threw myself into this scenario, not knowing that there's this like dark corner that was going to come at me. No room for nuance or conversation, mind you. So this is all stemming because like I post a story. I'm on both sides. I can understand how the story came off as like, they say I posted a story saying this man refused to switch seats with me, which I understand the choice of verbiage like wasn't the best. This man not so politely declined my ask. His right to say no, of course, but I think the way he could have done it was better, a lot better. So anyways, I posted a story and then I was like, and Robbie's going to get up every 5 seconds to make his life hell, which like then that really set people off because that insinuates I'm entitled to him to switch seats. But it was a joke. It was a joke. Like I think like my followers know that I'm like never serious unless I like go out of my way to make sure everyone knows I'm serious. I like to keep it light on the socials, like just have a good time. Whatever, just like some comedic relief. It wasn't taken lightly. I will say Robbie also escalated the situation, not IRL, online, by like posting screenshots to me, explaining all the ways that she was going to make us. Again, it was a joke. She was kidding. She was asleep before we got into the air, before we left the tarmac. She was snoring. She was exhausted. So like she didn't actually make his life hell. I mean, like we're all abiding citizens making the decision to be on the plane. So like I get that part. I do feel like an airplane is like neutral. Like it doesn't matter your political beliefs. It doesn't matter where you come from. We all got to get A to B and we want to get there with the least amount of drama. Mind you, Robbie is not afraid of a little confrontation, but let me tell you guys, like this was all just purely for entertainment. It's like she has a different demographic of following because like all her followers thought it was like haha funny. She was like, the Jewish people are siding with me. And I'm like, okay, well, naturally my followers are taking it a little out of context, which I know it's not all of you. It's just like, this will be the only time you guys will hear me say Reddit. Like they love a mistake. They're going to roast your ass. They're going to take it out of context. And you know what? You don't scare me. Okay. I know they're going to eat this up too. And it's like totally fine. Like whatever. Like what? I know you exist. I honestly never like go on Reddit because I've learned my lesson and whatever. So anyways, they took the whole story out of context. So basically what had actually happened was Robbie and I were like one seat away from each other. No, sorry. Like a couple rows away from each other. And we're like, okay, maybe one of these like nice people will want to switch with us. The guy next to her, he was like crammed into his seat. It was one of those big planes. So like I was in the middle. There was like 3 columns and I was in the aisle of the third, but like right where the main cabin started. I'm like, I'm in the main cabin, you guys. You're calling me entitled. This is happening in economy. But catch me flying private and I'll be the first one to go and run. I'm just kidding, you guys. I would never fly private. I would never. I'm not Taylor Swift, but I'm just like me throwing her under the bus for no reason. You guys know I'm a Swiftie. I would like to see the breakdown of carbon footprint and see how it compares to big tech. I'll say it. Because I don't know if she's making a drop in the bucket. Like our ozone has been fucked since before recycling. And recycling doesn't even do anything. Apparently it all goes to the landfill. My facts could be wrong. Please, somebody, I need help here. I need to be fact checked. So it's like, and as the listener, I want you to know something about me, that I'm 90% full of shit until I'm not, and you guys will know the difference, and maybe you won't, but that's okay, because it's free speech, baby. But it's like, just like not that serious. Anyways, okay, so we thought this man was looking a little cramped in his seat. I have a big, roomy, spacious one. So, I approach him. Hey, I know this is a bother, but do you mind? Would you be interested in switching seats? Because I'd like to sit next to my girlfriend for the 6-hour flight. And he starts raising his voice at me. He's a part of this dark corner that these people who are coming for me are part of. I need to not accuse you guys. Also, whatever. All press is good press. I just don't like the entitled piece. So I'm really not entitled, you guys. I grew up, my dad, active duty Air Force. He put my mom through nursing school. We were lower middle class. So it's like I truly don't have an entitled bone in my body. In fact, I think I am not entitled to anything, which is part of my therapy sessions, riddled with shame for no reason. I don't deserve it. I don't deserve it one bit. I don't even deserve to be on that plane. So I beat you to it, you guys. I beat you to it. I'm not entitled. I swear. Okay, but anyways, he starts raising his voice at me, even though I approached him in like a calm, socially acceptable manner, because the airplane is like peak form of society. And he, given a big man, his legs barely fit in his seat, starts raising his voice. Naturally, I get scared, start backing away slowly. But it's like when you're yelled at by a man in a confined space, it gets really scary. So that was like the part of my story is like, okay, he was treating me like shit. And then Robbie was like, I'm going to make his life hell. And all of the various ways, like a small, tiny woman could. Sorry, babe. She's like 5'5", 100 pounds, soaking wet. So she's like, I'm going to get up every 5 seconds. I'm going to go in my... And she was asleep. There's just not enough oxygen in the air cabin for her. So she didn't actually, but yeah, no. He said he didn't want to switch because his dog couldn't sit in that row, which I get, but there was a dog right next to me. I was concerned for said man's dog who wasn't making a peep. who was in this enclosed container and a stuffy ass plane. I'm like, sir, you need to check on your dog. I don't know if he's still with us today. You know what I mean? Like, there's actually other fish to fry. I could be in your favor because I do know CPR. I'm not above giving it to a dog. The dog could have been more comfortable in my seat. I'm like, oh, there's a dog right next to me. He's like, well, maybe the dogs don't want to be together. I'm like, they're both under 7 pounds. I think they're going to be fine. Anyways, so, okay, but this is like, just goes back to whatever, the place on the internet that feels like this is the way it goes. First of all, it's not transferable to real life. People ask if they want to switch seats on a plane all the fucking time, and I normally say yes. One time, Robbie gave up her Delta Comfort seat to sit next to me. It's like, people are like, he paid for that. It's like, okay, I paid for my seat too, which is arguably better. Like, I know how to play the game, which is like, you have to offer up the most coveted seat, which I did. I'm not like asking to switch with someone in first class. Believe you me, this debauchery is not happening at the front of the plane. But yeah, I can understand you want to pay for your seat. Some like the aisle. You got a tiny bladder. You have, what's that thing my grandpa has? BPH. So it's like you have to pee frequently. I understand that, like, politely decline. I get it. You have flight anxiety. You can't be next to the window, or you want to be next to the window. I totally understand. I still don't know if there's any harm in asking, especially if you want to be next to a loved one. There's some people, one person clued me in. They were like, you will never win this fight. And I was like, oh shit, this is so serious. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but you better believe I will never post about it again. That could be an empty promise, because you guys know I like to stir the pot, and I'll never look at another passenger in the eye with the intent of switching seats. Never. Also a lie. Because it happens. Robbie and I travel a lot, so we have to switch like for work and stuff, and our schedules are always changing, so we have to switch our flights frequently, so we can't always like be right next to each other. But you know what? I will say, like, I'm also on your side, Redditors. I hear you. I see you. I am you. Me. I'm the anonymous one roasting myself, dragging myself for PR. Imagine. No, I'm not that sick. But we will work harder on getting seats together. But all I'm asking for is a little room for nuance in the conversation. Because naturally, after I posted my story, I saw people were coming for me. I was like, what is going on? So then I posted a TikTok, never, ever, 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 ever do that. Never the right idea, to try and defend myself. And then people came for me even more. When I'm like, you guys, this was all just because like a big tall man raised his voice at me and made me feel scared for like what I thought was an innocent ask. Now I know it's basically the highest sin one can ever do is to ask someone to switch with them on the plane. I've learned my lesson, okay? Actually, I haven't. I'd go out on a limb and say, I asked one of you to switch with me. You know who you are. Anyways, but I get it. I appreciate it. There's just like, it's like whatever, you know, how does the conversation on social media, which it's like, we're so sick of hearing about, but there's just like, because there's no conversation. It's like, it's just so black and white. Tim Urban has a good book on this. And it's like, I'm listening to it, mind you. Which I can like barely keep up. He's really smart, but he does try and dumb it down for laymen. I'm like, sorry, I went to public school, so I'm basically starting at a deficit. I went to college to get my MRS degree. I may have gotten dumber in college with the amount I was drinking. So yeah, it's hard to really educate yourself at this point in time, but I'm really doing my best. But his book, you know, talks about how we've gone wrong in our society with all of our like black and white thinking. And now there's like really no room for discussion. And it's like, because all these echo chambers, they just are feeding off of each other. It's like low hanging fruit and shoot down anybody that, you know, disagrees with them. and like cherry pick a story to further, confirm their bias, which is exactly what happened. I'm a victim. No, I'm just kidding. But it's like, come on, with switching seats on an airplane, I didn't know it was such a big thing. And like, I just don't think that it's actually what is going on in real life. Like, people have asked me to switch and I switch. Everyone that I've talked to, IRL, is like, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. There are people who are like, they wouldn't switch and they, obviously they paid for their seat. Like, I believe that too, but I feel like there's like kind of no harm in asking. I think just like politely decline, because we have to get to point A to B together. We're stuck on this plane together. So that's all, really. I'm both for myself and against myself, okay? So whatever side you're on, I'm on. Let's just leave it at that. Anyways, I guess I don't even know where to start. This is my home studio for those who are watching. It's really makeshift. It's not quite done yet, but I feel like I do love the pieces. It's being designed by Paige Wassel and Kate. Kate, I always forget your last name. They're the best. They're the best designers. They're doing like podcast set. Paige works for AD. She has a YouTube channel. She has the best taste. They reupholstered these little seats in mohair. They reupholstered the ottomans. And they're going to come in and do the rest. But I'm doing like the lighting, these cameras. I have no fucking clue what I'm doing. So it's like just me. Who's the engineer? Me. Who's post? Me. I'm just clicking buttons on these cameras that were like recommended to me. And then went into a camera shop, tried on a lens, and here we are. So anyways, you guys will hopefully watch me grow, and it will get better over time. I'm like, I don't really know where to start, but maybe there's been like a gap in time from coming off of TV to now. So like I can fill you in. So I graduated from the Dancing with the Stars tour, basically, last March. Tour was grueling. I was sleeping on a triple-decker bus on the top bunk, which was, believe it or not, the most viable option. Literally pulling G's, like centrifugal force. Because it was like so top heavy that when the bus would take a turn, the centrifugal force would just like me into the side wall. I couldn't like lift up. And we had to sleep on the bus. There's really no other option. Anyways, a great experience, a lot of character building. And so that was March. And then I went home to my parents for like a couple weeks, but I had been in like rotting and squatting in my parents' basement for like 2 years in between endeavors. So I was like, okay, it's time to get the fuck out and kind of make like a career change. Kind of. Yeah, I like a lot of people ask if I'm going to go back to nursing. And at this point, no. But I even when I was in nursing, you guys, at the end of the pandemic, like I was dying for a career change right before the pandemic hit. I was making the change to go into aesthetics and become like an injector. The hours are better. It's like more fun and you get a lot more money. Nurses don't get paid anything, especially in Colorado. It's like they haven't like adjusted the rates to like whatever cost of living, and Denver's a really expensive city. So I was like, I need to make a change. So right before the pandemic, I was like applying for injector jobs. Nobody would take you unless you had experience. And I was like, okay, one of those. You're like, how am I supposed to get experience? So the only place that would take me is for laser hair removal. I'll do anything. I'll start from the bottom. Like I've earned my keep in so many different ways. And I just like, I don't know. I just kind of believe like you have to start somewhere and just like work your way up. Maybe that could be lost on the new generation. But I think there's like other ways now. But anyways, so I was like, all right, I have to start here. Laser hair removal. I think they had you like come in and shadow one day to see if this is something you'd be interested. Anything to get me away from the bedside. Being an ICU nurse was so grueling, and I was just like so burnt out at this point. So I'm like, nothing could scare me away from this transition. And on my first day of shadowing, I had to like laser hair remove one singular hair off of the shaft of a penis. So I'm like, throw me in, put me in, coach. I'm so ready. And like I have dealt with a lot of wieners before. You know, I've mostly in the realm of Foley catheters. I'm a whiz with the urethra. Anyways, yeah, so I was like, okay, this is my future. I will be lasering the shaft and scrotums of whoever asked for it. It's going to get me out of the ICU. Honestly, like I was, you know, you were literally wiping shit off the walls because of Go Lightly. My nurses know what I'm talking about. So this was like right before the pandemic. I went away to laser hair school for a week. Not enough time if you ask me, but like I really did my best and tried to be a sponge and tried to absorb as much knowledge as I could. And then we came back from training, and then you just get like thrown in there. It took me like 5 months to learn how to be an ICU nurse. And lasers are like, they're you know, they should be handled with care. They can do some damage. Ouch, burns. Ooch. One time I was burned on my forehead during IPL, and I emailed the lady and I never got a response, and then I went back to her. It happens, you know, it's like we're humans. There's human error. So I'm thrown into laser hair. I'm putting my head down. I'm trying to make it work. Then the pandemic hit. So unfortunately, I was, you know, kind of abated. But then I had to go back into ICU nursing, which is where I worked through the pandemic in these like crazy crisis contracts where I was working like 80-hour weeks in deep Texas. So yeah, I was ready for a career change already. And I think like we're of the generation to where we more often want different things in our career. And I feel like, yeah, it's like whatever, a little more normalized, maybe even encouraged. I've seen someone on TikTok say you should switch jobs every 3 years to get more money. But it's like we want more stimulation. It's the era of information. So, but I know like our parents aren't used to that. Like the lost generation, you know, they just like put their heads down, work. Well, they're only supposed to work 40-hour weeks, but somehow they're pulling 50, 60-hour weeks because they feel indebted. And it's like I learned really quick as a nurse, like you are just a number. Like it's not that I didn't feel valued, because I don't know how you really can feel valued when like it's like they do just need someone to be in that position. Like they just really need hands. And it doesn't really matter who you are, unfortunately. I think like that is the way. Is it capitalism? I don't know. That the career fields are kind of going, because it's like cheaper labor when you don't have to invest in your employees, but then you don't get as high satisfaction rates. You guys, whatever. So yeah, I understand where like the older generation is coming from. Like they like don't understand like alternative ways to earn your income, and they hold it against you, because like I think all the people on my Instagram who are like, you should go back to being a nurse, are like boomers. It's like, if you don't like my Instagram, why would you want me to be a nurse? And I paid my dues for almost 10 years. I was working my ass off. And it's pretty thankless that the healthcare world, I guess I can get into it a little bit. I am going to have my friend Joanne on. She's coming, well, I don't know when these are going to air, but she's coming next week. And we worked together maybe close to like 10 years ago, like 7, 8 years ago now. And so she know, like we've kind of been through it together. Now she's a nurse practitioner in a cardiac ICU. She's like so smart, but so scary. So we'll probably reminisce on like our old nursing days. But which like obviously there's some good parts. You really have to lean on each other, like the teamwork of it all and like comedic relief. Like nurses have the darkest sense of humor because like we've literally seen it all. But I started when I was 21 working in an ICU. I was a nurse's assistant and I was just like always really science minded. So no matter how much like in college, I always had a job. Me being entitled, I always had a job. I was on the dance team and I was in nursing school and I managed to heavily drink 3 to 4 nights a week. There should be an award for that. And I graduated magna cum laude. Nobody's going to believe that. But but I was like young, like I didn't have any life experience. I went straight into the ICU to work, which like you're just so close with death. But it's like I didn't even really know what life was. Like, so how was I going to understand death at that age? And like, I get it. You just need kind of smart people to be able to like keep your patients safe and, work like kind of the administering medication part, assessment, like just being able to like recognize when things are wrong, which I could do, but I didn't actually understand, I feel like, the full meaning of it. And like that I'm still processing too, because I'm like, how was I, I'd sit with multiple patients while they died so they weren't alone. But it's like that I didn't know if that's what I was signing up for. Nobody really like walks you through it. It's like you just have to get through your 12.5-hour shift and like get the fuck home so you can do it the next day. So it was like, I feel, that there was just lots of like an emotional responsibility, a physical responsibility. Like it's such a hard career, and I commend anyone who still does it and like loves it and wants to hang in there, because obviously we need people like that. But it's like, it's almost like you're playing God. It's like you are in charge kind of in life or death. Not saying that we were calling those shots, obviously, as nurses, like doctors were, but it's like you have to facilitate the conversation of like what's quality of life versus like quantity and the number of days. It just like got into really serious shit that I'm like, I don't know if anybody is really qualified to have these discussions morally and ethically, besides like God or whoever you call God himself. So I don't know. I was just ready for a change. I wanted something lighter. Okay, so moving to LA. So I found what I thought was this really cute place after I had landed from tour before I went back home to like pack up all my stuff. So I didn't have a ton of time and whatever. I was like trying to decide what area I wanted to be in. So I like was looking kind of central. Anyways, I found this like cute place, great Spanish architecture, great light, just like what I thought was gorgy. The landlord lived in the back in a casita, which I was like, I don't want this to get weird. So I like even kind of brought it up to him. I'm like, I hope like I can still have like privacy if I have friends over and stuff. Like there's no issue, because there was a pool in the back. Who doesn't love a pool in the back? And he was like, I assure you, no issues. We're friends with our previous tenants. They like invite us over for dinner parties. I'm like, I don't see that in our future, but okay, a nice little anecdote. So I signed on the dotted line and I moved in, and I don't know, like I kind of just like always felt like I never felt like I could fully get settled in the place. When you have that feeling, it sucks that there's like no return option once you decide to rent. You're like, fuck. Actually, these rooms are non-functional. This hallway is way too long for literally no reason. I don't feel connected to the house. I don't love that the washer dryer is in a closet. And I was paying a decent amount of money. And over time, I was just like, I feel like I wasn't really getting what I paid for. The dishwasher was perpetually broke. I was afraid my landlord was like peeping on me in the back. We really couldn't go in the backyard with like privacy. I'm like, okay, whatever. This is just like learning experience, rite of passage. And then there was mold. It was like a huge debacle. I was becoming symptomatic, like headaches and sneezing and stuff. My dog, which apparently doesn't manifest in dogs, but I'll just throw this out there anyway because why the fuck not? He was sneezing, allergies. And I'm like, okay, this is like affecting our health. My landlord didn't even want to get a mold test because he knew it would be an issue. And just whatever. I ended up having to leave the place. This nice, incredible Instagram follower of mine is a lawyer from Harvard and offered her services and literally saved my ass. But then I did get her tickets to Dancing with the Stars. But no, literally. But so then I moved to the east side, because that's where the queers are. Queers are here. And I'm just still settling in. You guys, you've seen my design journey. I have the bug. What kind of bug? I don't really know. One that has questionable taste, for sure. Not like a ladybug with everything figured out. More like, I don't know, a cricket, kind of sporadic and spastic and noisy, moving all my shit around. But it's been really fun to explore. I know you love to roast me for my rugs, and I'll encourage it. But despite what you say, I know I've made some mistakes. I have. I'll be the first to admit that red rug in my dining room, you guys know what I'm talking about, that started Ruggate. But I'm not going to lie, I love the attention, any attention I can get. That was a terrible choice, and I made the mistake of posting it on Instagram before showing it to anyone else, and I learned my lesson. And now you guys just like whatever, like to tease me. But joke's on you, that's my love language. I love to be teased. It makes me feel seen. So I have the design bug. I'm getting into like vintage, like quality pieces which like I'm not quite sure if there is true meaning to this or if I'm just being gaslit by capitalism. I'll go out on a limb and say patriarchy. No, I'm just kidding. Which it's like they call vintage pieces, an investment because you can turn around and sell it for more because it's more valuable as it ages. Lies. I tried to sell my couch, which it is like, it's just kind of big and bulky. It looked great in my other space. It's a big curved round couch. Milo Bowman, some kind of vintage. He's a designer. I really like his other stuff. It's like so hard to find a nice, like vintage, also comfortable couch. I've actually made it work in my living room, and I might reupholster it, which I think will make it better. But it didn't quite fit in my space because it's like a smaller living room here. This place that I'm in now is a challenge to design because it has like a huge entryway, but we're making it work. Tried to sell it. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants it even for what I paid for it or less. So, in fact, I feel like I've been gaslit, but I am making it work. So it feels like I'm getting my money's worth anyways. But yeah, I've been like dabbling in the vintage. Plus, I do just kind of like that look. Who are my inspirations? I did love Orville Peck's AD. Shout out to Paige. She helped prop design it, and she's gonna like help prop design this studio. But I think I'm like a little bit more feminine. Some people call it grandma chic, and I feel like that's really spot on. Like, yeah, it's gonna feel like older, like it has roots and meaning and connected, but also like grandma, not grandpa. Robbie's grandpa chic. Her office is like a beautiful president's. Like everything's really old and masculine. So when we move in together, but she's helped pick out like almost everything of mine. And she said she doesn't mind living in a house that's like a little more feminine. So I actually don't think it's going to be that big of an issue when we decide. It's been a topic of conversation, you guys, like the moving in together. It's like not that early. We've been together going on 10 months. So it's like almost a year. I feel like natural to start having these conversations, but it has been enlightening because it brings up finances, which like I'm terrified to talk about. I'm like, keep our finances separate because I feel like I have a lot of shame around it. Because mama likes to spend. But I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm not crazy. I feel like I spend it responsibly and I don't have to involve. Oh no. Okay. My camera batteries keep dying. This is just a part of the process. I don't really know what to do about it. Maybe I'll Google longer lasting batteries, but like, how am I going to do this professionally? Nobody knows. It's all a part of the process. What was I talking about? Maybe I'll take a break anyways. I just designed a little. I added this ashtray, which we found at a flea market. It's gorgy. You can find them on like First Dibs though. So I can't act like it's super one of a kind. But I got a pretty good deal. Okay. Okay, I did just go get a little high because I want to try. I'm going to give you some normal and some this. This is a surprising part of me to most people. I don't know if that's true because this is when Reddit liked me. They deemed me the stoner queen of Bachelor Nation and they weren't wrong. But I was never high on the show because they like pack your bags or check your bags and stuff. So I'm really just this person all the time, but it does make you like act a little guilty, I feel. I just saw my neighbor. He came home and you just never know. He's a dad and he's a neighbor and he's kind of older, but it's like you just never know if there's sexual tension. Like I just don't trust men. I just acted really guilty, and because I'm high, letting Nardo out to pee, and I literally waved and ran in the house. I just made it 10 times worse. I waved as I was running in the house, and normally we're like, how's it going? But I caught him not wanting to talk to me first, I feel, or he was like playing coy. I was talking about coming to LA, but okay, yeah. So my design bug. I love going to the Rose Bowl Flea. I feel like having vintage things is like so easy in LA, and like you have the access to so much good stuff. So I wish everybody like all across the world could go to the Rose Bowl Flea because it's honestly so good. It's in Pasadena. And they just have the best vendors. Like I found mostly everything in my house from there. I'm not even kidding. This. I won't go through everything. And I'm settling in. There's a couple more things I want to do, but I just don't know how much longer I'll be here because Robbie and I want to move in together. But it's like, should I always be forward thinking or should I just get myself settled here? That's kind of something that we've been talking about a lot. And sometimes I feel like you just have to decide on one thing because living in limbo will make you crazy. So I think I'm actually trying to convince myself to like buy an entryway table because I've been really not interested, but I should just do it. It'll help me feel more settled. Anyways, so there's a couple more things to do, and then I have the office, and then I want like a little butcher's block in the kitchen, but it's like, what's the point if after I'm done I'm only going to be here for 3 more months? But I guess those 3 months would be like bliss. And this is what I want to talk about. Like Robbie and she travels so much because she's a stand-up comedian and that's literally her work. Like they have to tour. That's where they make the most money. Hardest workers ever. Robbie's like doing like 5 shows 5 nights a week. Which is crazy at her level because I feel like she is pretty successful, but it's like you just have to fucking grind. And so she makes the most money traveling. She's also a writer. She's really amazing at both. Anyways, we have to spend a lot of time apart if I don't go with her. So I decided to go with her to New York. it was like a business trip for her, but also kind of, I was like, okay, I'll go there and do business. And then, but like, what business? No, I'm literally embarrassing myself. I wanted to interview and Brooke for the podcast. And like, I just am trying not to do Zoom. And I was supposed to have one more guest, but we moved it. So it would have been worth it to have like 3 guests in person in New York. 2, not so worth it. No, I'm just kidding. Brooke and like, we're the best. But so Robbie had been like basically working like a dog all of New York, but not even, like, we still spent a good amount of time together. But you know, we'd like go out to dinners and then go to her shows. But naturally, because all the attention wasn't on me, I felt a little bit neglected. And it's not even something you like want to feel. Like, it's like, I want to be independent and strong, but it's like when you really love somebody, you just like to be around them. But I wasn't like, you know, trying to do all that, like be all needy. Turns out I was. But I don't know. We did have a really good time. It was actually my favorite week. We've been to New York now 3 times, and it was my favorite time there. That is the problem. It's like, it's so exhausting, but when you go, it's actually really fun. It's like people are like New York or LA, and it's like, ugh, I just couldn't live that busy. Yeah, for anyone who was wondering, for all my Midwesterners, because I'm from the Midwest, so I feel like New York was always like the city where I wanted to go. It's like you glamorize it. And part of me does feel like it holds up to his glamour, and I just missed my shot by living there. So now I have no choice but to shit on it because I have to protect myself. But yeah, it was really cold. I have COVID right now. Luckily, dogs can't get it. Okay. And you know, and I'm on Paxlovid. This is the 2nd day. I don't know if you guys have taken it. It really does work. Coming, you know, from my nurse background, it literally cuts the viral load like in half so fast, Paxlovid, so it gets rid of it like that. But I am good at catching it early. I'm taking Paxlovid. It like cuts the viral load in half so fast, so you start feeling better almost immediately. And I feel radioactive though. That's where I was going with that. It makes you feel like you could shoot webs out of your wrists. And like, if I, by immaculate conception by Robbie, somehow get pregnant, like the baby would have 10 heads. Like, there is radioactivity in it, but it works. And I can't have COVID keep me down. Honestly, if like, if it was like a milder version, which I know everyone's, you know, people say the strain's different and stuff, but it's like, for me, it's still always been worse than the common cold. And I think if you didn't have to stay isolated, it's like, I got to see my baby and I got to go to the spa, but I will wait until I'm negative. I'm not a super spreader like you guys. This is the 3rd time I've had it now, but I guess it's not bad. Once a year for 3 years, and I have been traveling a lot, and I worked in a COVID ICU throughout the pandemic, and I literally never got it. It's like, I hate to say it, but PPE and N95s work. I know the jury's out on the other masks, but we're not going to get into that here, okay? I feel like, anyways, I missed my chance to like live in New York. But I actually don't think it would be good for me. But I'll never know. See, I'm so at odds with myself. Okay, yeah, I guess we can talk about like work maybe this last year, because I feel like I don't give myself enough credit with like, because this year has felt so big and so amazing and also so chaotic and so in like different ways. yeah, so taking a chance kind of on a new career. There's this executive producer on Dancing with the Stars who's literally the shit. She's the nicest, she's the funniest, she's the smartest. She set me up with all my meetings to like find an agent and a manager. It really was just like my guiding light and guardian angel, because it's like it is really scary, especially coming from such like whatever, like a working, just like service job, being a nurse. Like, I don't even know how business works, because being a nurse is just so specific. And it's like, I feel like you're in the medical world or the business world. But yeah, so I had no idea what I was doing, and she helped guide me through, and she introduced me to my manager, who has been amazing, and I feel like hopefully we'll grow together. But he DM'd me when I was on, he like doesn't represent reality stars. Me calling myself a reality star, you guys, I don't know, reality people. So he kind of took a chance on me, and I feel like we're growing and learning, and like, I don't know, just like doing it together. He was an agent for a long time before. Also, obviously, I met Robbie, so that's been a huge change. I haven't like, because Eric was my last relationship, and it was hard because it was like, it just wasn't as serious. Like, I feel like this is my first serious relationship in a while, and we spend a lot of time together. And so it's been like just kind of a new part of life, like managing her stuff and my stuff, like with a partner. Hence the travel, because like I don't want to be without her, so I want to be able to see her. And like it's just easier, and she goes to like cool places and stuff, so naturally I want to go. But it is like, I'm such a homebody, and I feel settled when I'm in my home. Like, everything has its place, and like I can keep myself busy in my home, and it's like enjoyable to upkeep it. But I only get like that when I feel really settled, and travel takes away from some of that. So it's just like lots of differences, but I think I've also grown so much. Like, now I don't really feel like an adult, obviously. But, and I kind of don't ever want to. Like, I always want to have like, I feel like a young and exciting new look on life. I don't know, I feel like Gen Z has really taught us, well, or maybe this is the first, because it's like I was the youngest generation as millennials, and maybe the boomers and stuff to looked at us like this, but it's like they are so smart, they're progressive, like I feel like they're enjoying and like moving through the world in a different way. And I, instead of being like resistant to those ideas, I want to adopt them because I want to be young at heart. But I also think it's something that's like, you're kind of like, you have or you don't. And I think I don't know, like I always just want to play and laugh and have a good time. Like, no matter what, I never want to get too old for it or like become too serious, Like, Robbie and I like play fight and always tease each other, but she takes it too far. I will say, me turning on her real fucking fast. But she's one of 10, and I think she's kind of funny to have this persona where it's like she takes things like too far. Like, her podcast is called Too Far, and she's one of 10, so she like I don't know, she's just scrappy, and I'm like pretty fair. It also does bring me back, because my sister and I would like also used to fight so much, like Indian rug burns. So we were like on a walk in New York and like teasing each other and stuff, and she got, what did she, oh, she was putting on her shoes, and I like fucked with it a little. I like pushed them out from underneath her, like I was just flirting with her. And I don't know what got into her that day, but I knew she was plotting, because like she wasn't being her normal like really talkative self. So I knew something was up, but I'm like, okay, she's going to throw a snowball at me. I'm going to watch her go get the snow and then I'll run. Like, I'll know what's going on. Anyways, she like juked on me and pushed me into the snowbank in my Prada loafers and like my ankle twisted. I'm like, are you actually okay? Like, she's so crazy. But also, we just keep it light and fun. I feel like I'm still learning, obviously, with this like home studio and just the podcasting world in general. Dear Media is giving me a lot of freedom, which is nice, but it is like you just guide it on your own. And I'm like, wow, this is so crazy. But it's like, yeah, you like grow, I guess, like as kind of, an entrepreneur. I hate calling myself an entrepreneur. I think because it sounds embarrassing and mostly it sounds just kind of masculine. Like I wish it rolled off the tongue. Entrepreneur. Like maybe it's the manure of it all. Entrepreneur. Anyways, it's just not for me. And then I would call myself a business owner, but it's like, to me, that'd be way more boring. But I am technically like building a business. And I'm a woman, in case you guys didn't know. So also being a woman in a new industry is interesting because you get to like watch things happen. Like I think when I was a nurse and I was kind of young, well, I was young, so I didn't totally always know, what I was experiencing, but like there's definitely a power dynamic between nurses and doctors. Nurses are like a minority female led industry, which is why we're like not paid enough. Like even in the pandemic, unless you were taking these crazy contracts, you were not paid like anymore. I have got to figure out this camera thing sooner rather than later. Like I need better batteries, or be able to like just plug in the camera so there's not this risk, but I don't know if you can. Anyways, what I was saying, it's like now I'm navigating a new industry, kind of, being a woman, which is also like always interesting. I feel like in the power dynamic of the world, plural of power dynamic. But as a nurse, obviously there's a power dynamic. Like the industry of nursing is led by female minorities, and like we, aren't paid for or aren't known for being paid well. And yeah, it's like you can kind of get away with it even throughout the pandemic. You would some hospitals wouldn't even pay you more for working in the COVID unit, because it was like expected of you, while the rest of the world was like legally mandated, to keep themselves safe. We were like professionally mandated to expose ourselves, and not even for compensation. So it's like that itself, but it's like that's all I knew, and I didn't understand that was happening until I was older. But it's like doctors, have power over nurses, and typically they're old men, and like, nurses don't always have a voice. And as a young woman trying to find my voice, I didn't realize how much I had to overcompensate for. Like there was such an imbalance of power that like, was subtle. It's all I knew. So I didn't really know what was going on. But yeah, because people don't want to listen to you as a nurse. It's like, oh, well, you're not the doctor. It's like, oh, well, I've been with this patient for the last 12 hours. Sometimes, you'll work 3 days in a row. I've been with this patient for the last like 30 hours. like I know a little bit about what's going on. It's beyond, textbook knowledge. So, but like our other strengths and like intuition is discounted because we're women, a lot of us. But yeah, so then being a woman, it's like now when I have perspective because I've worked in a different field that was actually so serious, like way more serious than this one. And I was able to be successful and like kind of give you perspective on this industry and this reality. So I'm like, nothing's an emergency, people. Like, please. But yeah, like going into meetings is scary. My manager's been great and he like, I don't know, just really believes in me. So I'll like lead my own meetings. It's actually nice because I feel like I frequently have meetings with women. So it's actually really cool to be seeing these women in power. But the one-off meetings with the men, it's like I had a meeting about the podcast with a guy and oh yeah, it was like, his focus was having like female empowerment voices and geared towards like the millennial female audience, but like the meeting was with a man. I'm like, well, what do you know about your own product? Like it's actually so crazy that like you're bringing up this like this is what you want to build. But it's because he knows we're on the rise. So he is a good businessman at the end of the day. Even like watching Robbie in comedy, being like, and she can speak to it, but being a female in comedy is obviously like much different and like hard when you're a lesbian, and she just crushes. But watching people, yeah, like sometimes treat her different. Like she has to work a little harder. She has to go into a room and like absolutely crush when a guy probably just needs a couple chuckles. With all that being said, I do hope I get some like real stability sometime soon. Oh, I just love to be at home. I'm like, maybe in the next 5 years, like, so I'll probably need to hustle now. Also, I watched I, Tanya on the plane home from New York. And when I had no idea she didn't do it, like I thought, because you're like, oh, you Tanya Harding'd her. And so but like obviously it's society pinning it on the woman, like she was the problem. Oh no, my camera died again. And now I don't have any battery. Maybe that's a good time to call it. Okay, you guys, see you next time. I'm going to get new camera batteries. Please like and subscribe to Long Winded. And thanks for listening.